Thank you. Thank you so much, Carol, for that nice introduction. Thank you all for that warm, warm welcome. The Jefferson Area Tea Party welcome. And I'm grateful to you for the invitation to be here. And I'm grateful for all of those who are here tonight to hear me talk a little bit about our candidacy and to have a dialogue about where we go from here and how we take back our country on November 2nd. I want to maybe first take just a moment to say thank you to a couple of people. I only see one candidate that was other than myself that was in the primary election here tonight, and that's Feda Morton. And I don't know if there was any other that is here, but because she is here, you know, I would like to recognize her. I would like to recognize her commitment to the future of this country, the unbelievable influence that she has had in making this country better. Where is Feda? Thank you, Feda.
We're going to take back our America. Y'all heard me say that over and over. So, Robert, so glad you're here, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Feda. Let me say this. I know that there are many people in this room who supported candidates in the primary election. I know there are many of you who supported me at an early stage. And I'm grateful for that support. I am truly grateful for the support I received. But let me say this, and let me be clear. I am grateful to each of you who worked for a candidate in this primary election, whether you supported Feda or supported one of the other good candidates. The candidates who ran for this nomination ran because they love their country and they were willing to sacrifice their time away from their families and their homes because they want to make this country a better place. And for the same reason, I thank you, because you did the same thing. You went out and worked for the candidates because you love your country and you know something's wrong and you realize we must take this country back. I believe, and I can speak for myself, I believe that we are better off here in the 5th District for that process, for that tough, grueling primary election process. Why? Number one, I think that all of us who went through the process are better candidates and are better people as a consequence of that experience. And I can say that for myself, and I think I probably speak for all the other candidates. But the other reason it was so important has to do with you. It has to do with the Jefferson Area Tea Party and the other Tea Party organizations across the 5th District. And that is this. Far too long in Washington, D.C., we have been electing and re-electing people without asking the hard questions. Without asking the hard questions, and we've not held folks accountable for their representation of us. So at the end of the day, it's our fault that we have what we have in Washington because we have allowed it. But what we saw in the enthusiasm and the hard questioning that went on during that primary process is a recognition that we can't not ask questions any longer if we're serious about taking this country back. And that's what I believe is the best thing to come out of this primary election process. So for that, I want to thank you. Let me just say this, and Carol hit it right on the head. Friends, we are at a crossroads in this country. We are at a crossroads. We are at a place that I think that if our founders come back 234 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence and see where we are, I think that they would be very, very disappointed. You know, our founders who conceived the Declaration of Independence recognizes that each of us as individuals, that we derive our rights, our natural rights, not from government, not from a piece of paper, but from God Almighty. Our founders understood that. They also understood the nature of government and the nature of freedom. And that's why when they infused these documents with their vision, they talked about and infused in those documents principles of limited government, free markets, and individual liberty. Because in my opinion, those are the three linchpins that have made this country great. Our founders understood that. They had a vision for that. And we've come a long way from that founder's vision. And I think that's why they would be disappointed, because In Washington, D.C., and with Congressman Perriello, we don't have we have unlimited government. You stop and you think about every aspect that our federal government regulates and dictates our lives in our homes, our schools, our businesses. Every aspect of our lives at some level seems to be regulated by the federal government. And you stop and think about free markets. What aspect of our free marketplace, our marketplace, is not regulated by the federal government? And you stop and think about individual liberties. And I think you don't have to look any further than the health care bill to see exactly what Tom Perriello and the crowd in Washington thinks of individual liberty. Because in that health care bill, we now have a law that says that the federal government comes into our homes, takes a seat at the table with husbands and wives and mothers and fathers at that kitchen table where the most important decisions that a family makes about their health care and about their finances. The federal government now comes in and takes a seat, pulls up a chair and says, I'm going to have a seat because you're not smart enough to know what's right for your family when it comes to health care. You're not smart enough to know what's right when it comes to your finances. And that health care bill now says the federal government comes in, says you must buy health insurance. Friends, we've come a long way from our founders' vision of limited government, free markets, and individual liberty. And it is incumbent upon us. It is incumbent upon us to restore that legacy, the legacy that they gave us through their sacrifice, those who gave their lives, their treasures, and their sacred honor. It is our responsibility to take our country back. And that's why we need a new congressman in Washington, D.C., representing the 5th District. We need a congressman who will stand up for balanced budgets. When you talk to people all across the 5th District, and this is something I've believed for a long time, but when you talk to people, no one understands why it is that you have to balance your checkbook every month. Small business has to balance their checkbook every month. Farmer has to balance his checkbook. State government, local government, they have to balance their checkbook. Why on earth does the federal government have to balance its checkbook? And friends, we need a constitutional amendment to make that happen. And I will support that. Another thing that we need in our new congressman in Washington, D.C. is somebody who understands history and understands the arrogance that's currently going on in Washington that says this. The arrogance that says that you can spend money that you don't have, you can borrow money that you'll never pay back, and that there will be no consequences. And that's what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. If you look at the $1.6 trillion in deficit spending that our Congress and our President have forced down our throats, you look at the $13 trillion in debt that we have borrowed, that we will never, those of us sitting here, will never pay that money back. Now, how is it that we have come to that place? Friends, we need a congressman who is going to reduce spending. Because at the end of the day, that's the only way that we get to where we need to in this country and avoid going the way of socialist Europe and avoid going the way of a country like Greece.